boundaries, emotional boundaries, verbal boundaries, time boundaries, work boundaries, spiritual boundaries, financial boundaries, and then sexual boundaries. So it's all relative to the everyday things that we do. I think the most common ones that we see are, emotional boundaries, work boundaries, and financial boundaries. But the other ones kind of play a part because they happen at different elements of life where it's not so common. You don't have sex with everybody you see, and when it comes to time boundaries, that could be another common one too. But Mrs. Best, I have to ask you, is there any boundaries here that you struggle with that you're not so good at out of these list of boundaries?
Um, mm, I'm like really, really good at boundaries, but I was also in therapy for a long time. So that's
Hmm.
why, if this was me like a couple years ago, maybe time
Okay.
boundaries, but outside of that, for the most part, the other ones I do respect. I think for some of these boundaries, if you struggle with them, it's a big concern.
It is, but people do. I think that when you look at the aspect of life and that there's so many different elements of boundaries, people do struggle with boundaries. People struggle with boundaries with all of these. I think that if you don't know or if you don't have a clear concept of the boundaries that you have with just your own personal, because some people suffer with self boundaries. There's some things like self sabotage is one. Like you need to always think the best of yourself, but some people don't do that. Some people down themselves. That is a boundary where should set that, hey, I'm not going to talk bad about myself. I'm going to say I love myself. I am handsome. I'm beautiful. I'm all these things. So some people just have you know struggles with that. Um, so I think the ones I struggle with emotionally, boundaries is definitely one. Sexual boundaries are another one, and then financial boundaries is the last one. The other boundaries I'm very good on. Oh, and work. Well, now this week work boundaries. We can add that to the issues of work boundaries. So let me break down work boundaries since that's one that I didn't think I needed to work on, but clearly I do. So, if you guys remember, July of last year, I got injured at work. I had a fractured tibia. I had fell through one of the machines at work. And I am back at work officially this month. And just this week, my team leader decides to put me back on that machine. It's not my regular machine that I operate. I was filling in for a person because I pretty much know the entire line. So I was filling in for somebody and they put me back on that machine. And now they didn't think my trauma was going to be a concern. They didn't think I was going to, have fear of getting on it. They just put me in it. I should have spoken up, but I didn't because initially the reason why I, didn't say anything is because we were short staffed and nobody else knew the machine but me. So, Mrs. West, I have to ask you, when you think of someone not having any work boundaries, how does someone set a work boundary? Like, how do you tell your supervisor without looking like insubordination in my
Um,
situation?
um, I'll speak to all situations because generally that's how it is with HR. Like, read your job titles, people. It really is that simple. I wish I had something deeper to say, but read your job titles. If you have a clear understanding of what your workplace duties are, and if your job expects you to help out in other areas, then, you know, do it. But at the same time, like with your situation, it was a personal workplace boundary that was violated, but it wasn't something that was legally wrong for them to do. It just was something that would be like ethically wrong to some people. But regardless of what, enforcing workplace boundaries, I think, in any situation is difficult because the job doesn't give a flying you know what about our
Hmm.
boundaries and how we feel about things. The job, any job, whether you're in medicine, factory work, lawyers, real estate. The goal is production, money, so they don't really care. They figure if you're able to breathe and drink water and move around, they say do what you have to do. Workplace boundaries, I think, are easier to enforce with like colleagues. Like with supervisors, it's forever difficult, but I think like with coworkers, that's respectful. Like if you were to say to like just a regular coworker, like, yeah, I don't want to talk right now because I have to go over to this machine and I have PTSD from falling in it and injuring my knee. Then it's like, okay, they should not talk about that. And if they continue, they're violating a clear boundary. But to respect it, just letting people know how you feel, that's really the simplest way to do a work boundary. But these jobs don't give a damn. That's what I was really struggling to.
Yeah. So the other type of work boundary are coworkers and potentially becoming friends outside of work. What are the boundaries that people should place when it comes to a coworker hanging out with outside of work? Like, how do you place a boundary there? Like, let's say, for example, your coworker comes to your home for a barbecue and they then go to work and tell people that and then kind of say what your house looked like and anything like that. Like, what boundaries should you place with coworkers so that way those type of situations don't happen? Should they come to your house? Should they not? I always struggled with this one too.
That's a lot of my friends in adulthood are people that I've met from work.
Mm-hmm.
I think depending on the type of work you do, you're with your coworkers sometimes if you work in person. I work from home now, but back when I worked in person, there were workplace people that I viewed like family that I still talk to that have became good friends, but it does take a while to get there. Like I feel like coworker boundaries, you're not going to click with everybody per se,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm not just inviting anybody to my house. So maybe like make it clear to certain coworkers, like if I work with James, but then I also work with somebody random, but I want to invite James over because me and him may mesh better and I may trust him a little more outside of the work environment than somebody else, then I would just tell James, I want you to come by, but don't say nothing and don't start none, won't be none. I don't want to deal with this bullshit.
Right.
Spread fast around this office. Like, ask him to do that. That's placing a boundary with him, keeping it to yourself, but also respecting your own space because you can't trust all of your coworkers. You can't invite everybody over.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
true.
have my coworkers. I have two coworkers on social media who I talk to avidly outside of work in terms of current coworkers. And I work with over 40 people and I'm one of the people who's trained in them. But I feel like in my 20s, I learned my lesson. It's probably best like be friendly with them, but let coworkers be coworkers.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, that's always a tough one because yeah, like Beloved Review says, I don't deal with coworkers outside of work.
That's
A lot
smart.
of people don't do that, and that is a smart way to be. But a lot of people, these are your friends. Like when you become an adult, make your friends is a little bit more. I think it's better now because we have social media and there's a lot of like groups that you can join, and there's lots of ways you could build friendships like that. But when it comes to like circumstance. Lord Jesus, come on, pass over. But when it comes to like, coworkers being friends, I think that's not becoming a norm anymore. I think people aren't really doing that like they used to because all of my mom's friends that were outside of my childhood, like let's say in current time, have been coworkers. So I think that, it is something that still happens, but I think it's becoming less
It's
likely now
not
because
as common. Like
yeah.
I know Shana, another YouTuber that we support, link is in description to her channel. She was telling me like she's very close with her coworkers. And there were jobs that I've had where some of my best friends are still this group of coworkers that I worked with years ago. So I don't think it's as common anymore, but it does still happen. But like I have enough friends. I have James. I'll call him if I need a friend. I ain't got time.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. That's how I don't have a lot of friends, you guys. I have a lot of associates. Like when it comes to friends, because I'm the friend that never keeps in touch. Like when I tell y'all, I'm the friend that I will never call y'all. Like social media, I'm not on it as much. You have to reach out to me. I'm learning to.
He calls when he needs stuff. Like if James calls you, you know that he genuinely needs you. And even if you don't hear from somebody often, if someone trusts you enough, even when not hearing from you, to call them, like that's still a friendship. And that's common, I think, in adult friendships because people got lives. Shit.
Oh no, I had a friend that got mad at me because I never call, I never check in. Granted, she doesn't do the same thing, so I feel like we're equally yoked. But
Oh Lord.
yeah, I have a friend who literally will say, "You never call," and I said, "Well, you never call me either, so we do the same thing to each
The
other."
phone
So
work
how
both
do
ways.
yeah, so how do we fix that? Like, have y'all ever been in that situation where a friend tells you you never reach out, but they don't do the same thing, so they want to
I'm in
simultaneously
one
punish you for
right
something?
now with a close
Mm,
friend. Uh, that we both mutually know, but
yeah.
I'm in that right now. She's like, you don't call me no more. I'm a Gemini. I follow and match the energy that other people give us. That's why y'all don't like us. So if I'm not calling a lot, it's likely because you not calling a lot. So I fell back. If my energy is stank, it's probably because your energy is stank. If I'm throwing shade, it's probably because you throw it. Like I wish I could change that. But as Geminis, okay, we match energy. Beloved Review said, and that goes for not letting them know about my YouTube channel. I agree with this as it
Hmm.
relates to coworkers. My coworkers do not, some of them know, the two that I have online, they obviously know that I have a YouTube channel. I think one of them subscribes, but she's a content creator also. So that's a whole different world. But I don't like for them to know about the YouTube channel. My sister's a very popular Bay Area based content creator, and some of them figured out I'm related to her. And now they're extra friendly, and it just feels like disingenuous. So I think that's good, beloved. Keep that private. Keep it private.
Absolutely. Like because it's something that one you never know. Like for me, how I am on YouTube is how I am in real life. I'm not a different person, but some people can be completely different on YouTube and doing content than they
Mhm.
could be in their everyday life. And you don't want people to misconstrue your being just because you're playing a character on YouTube versus in your real life. Because me, I'm very quiet. Like I know I come off, confident, sure, and very vocal, but in my personal life, I'm a very quiet person. I don't really speak much. So, but
Mellow.
what was that?
Mellow.
Yeah. No, yeah. And it's like, but most people, it's funny is because I do have a really high up person in my job who watches me. And he's like, James, I never knew you spoke like this. Like, I never knew you were such a powerful, like, speaker. And I'm like, because I'm very quiet at work, I don't say much. And it's like, he goes, wow, I wish you would show this at work. I said, no, because if I show this at work, then there would be some expectation or I might get fired if I really say how I felt. So I keep that to
Exactly.
myself. I keep that to myself. I'm not an idiot.
Yeah, they were surprised. Some girl at my job was surprised recently. She was like, I mean, girl, I didn't know this about you. I said, oh, Lord, because somebody shared something I posted on Instagram with her. She's like, I didn't know you talk like that. I said, that's why you niggas can't be on my shit. That's exactly why. Shetty said, or maybe I have reached out to you, but you didn't pick up the phone or you didn't call me back. So I'm not going to keep calling you with no response from you. Exactly.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, if you text me or call me, like my personal phone, not social media, y'all. If you text me or call me, I'm going to call you right back. Or I'm going to
Mhm.
text you right back. I'm not one of those people that will unless I don't recognize your number, and that's when you need to send a text message saying, "Hey, I'm trying to call you." But if you text me or if you call me, I typically get right back to you unless I'm sleeping or unless I'm doing something different. I'm going to call you right back. So yeah, I'm very good at you know, reaching out if you reached out to me, or if I just say, hey, because there's times Mrs. Best and I will go a couple days, I'll reach out to her, be like, hey, I ain't heard from you. You all right? And she'll be like, yeah, I'm good. And so, we do that to each other. So it's kind of like we're connected in that way. Not only do we do YouTube together, but it's like we are real friends outside of this. So it's one of those where if I don't hear from her in a couple days, it's odd. I need to reach out.
That's
Yeah.
another thing too. that James does, and I also do. Not everybody needs to have your phone number. I think that's a clear boundary with
Yes.
coworkers. My teams and my team's extension, my email, okay, my Outlook calendar, that should be the fuck enough. You do not need my personal phone number just because
Right.
we're having a company event. They've tried to do that to me a couple of times at my job, so I stopped going to company events. You're not going to respect my boundary, then I'm not going to motherfucking show up. That's just how I feel. But I feel like you have to be careful with who you give your phone number to, because even though you can block somebody, it's like, do you really want to have to do it? You know?
No.
Just keep
Yeah,
it.
I've never had to do it, and I don't want to start now.
Child. My block game is strong, but I'm a Gemini. We block people for nothing. She said, "Oh, yes, but my deal was with my brother. I had to be real with him about not calling me. And me always being the one to reach out, it was a whole thing. I feel like it's different with family,
Family, yeah.
and it always hits emotionally deeper. So it makes it a much more harder conversation because when emotions are involved, then triggers are involved. And it's just hard to talk to triggered people. But yeah, I've been there with siblings as well. Then they call too much, and I'd be like, well, damn, now you calling me too much.
All right. So now we have the infamous um, money grab of it all. So I'm going to play a scenario with you guys, and I'm going to read a story right after. But let's say simultaneously we win the Powerball tonight. We don't necessarily have to win the full Powerball. We could just win $1 or $2 million. So there is a boundary that kind of goes skew in this scenario. And the skew is, do you feel obligated when you get this kind of money to help family out or give family money just because you want it? Do you feel enticed to give someone money because you've now won it? So I'm going to answer this question first, and I'm going to pick out the story while I'm doing that because it's somewhere in my phone. But
Oh my
for
God.
me,
I need, oh
huh?
my God. I'm cooking. Ignore me.
Oh, okay. I was like, so me, I don't feel obligated to give family or friends money if I win the Powerball. My boundary is that I need to make sure I'm financially okay before I then extend that out to others. If I am not financially okay, I cannot financially help you. That goes even if I do win the Powerball. I don't care how much it is. If I am not okay and if not everything gets paid off and if I don't get the things I want, I'm not going to then circle back to give you something to go without. So I don't feel obligated to help family and friends out. Now, will I do it? Sure, I can, but I don't feel the obligation. I don't know where this came from. So when I read this story about this man who's wearing the ghost face mask from Scream, I was reading his story, and his story says that he has way too many family members that if he were to win this lottery, his phone would ring off the hook if he showed his face. So that's why he kept it hidden. I laugh because this is something that I have considered doing if I ever won the Powerball. I would have to wear a mask because I will have family coming out of the woodwork that I ain't seen in 20 years. Be like, hey, cousin, let me hold something. Like, I have that kind of family. I don't know if Mrs. Best is in the same situation, but I'm going to read you guys a story. But Mrs. Best, do you feel obligated to help family if you were to come into some money?
Hell no. Here's the thing. My family's actually, me and my sister are really good with financial boundaries, but the rest of my family is not. And they would do exactly like you said and be coming and expecting something just because I have it. I would help people in my family out the goodness of my heart, but I don't blame the brother for coming and signing that check in that Scream mask. I don't blame him.
I don't either.
Because people feel, the thing of it is, if you really love your family for just loving your family, fine. But if your family or your friend or somebody important to you significantly gains or comes up financially and you feel entitled to now have help, that's crazy. That doesn't make any sense. Like, just because somebody else has money doesn't mean they're entitled to spend it on you.
Right. Yeah. So I'm going to read you guys a story. It is lengthy, so please bear with me as I read this story. But it really did something to me once I read it out, because I kind of feel a little conflicted. So we'll see how you guys feel once I read it. So the story starts off with my life changed when I won $500,000 from the Powerball. My name is Cheryl, and I am from Fountain Hills, Arizona. One day, it was a random Saturday. I was grocery shopping, and the Powerball was at $1 billion. I never played the lottery, so I was just like, "Hey, why not?" The lady at the counter suggested that I pay $3 to get the extra additive bonus because even if I don't win the grand prize, the downward prizes would be double. So I took her advice and bought the $3 ticket. I picked random numbers. It wasn't anything special or anything like that. And I put the ticket in my purse and went about my day. Um, I watched the news on Monday, and I went by my mother's house, and she had told me that somebody from Fountain Hills won $500,000 from the ticket since it was the 10X. And once again, I didn't think it was me, so I didn't even pay attention to it. But my mom was like, "Oh, I can win that money because I have so much that I could pay up." The truth is, and between you and I, my mother has a huge QVC problem. She gets packages by the day and is about $40,000 in debt with QVC because she cannot stop buying. So I went to my car and I was leaving to go home, but I was like, let me pull out my phone and check my ticket. And sure enough, I was the winner of the $500,000 lottery. Now, when it comes to taxes and everything, I walked away with 330,000 of it. Um, I told my sister that I had won. My sister is not the type of person who will feel obligated to ask me for money. She said, "Congratulations. I hope you live better and do things well with the money." And she goes, "I am. I actually saw this house that I've been wanting to buy. And, I think it would be great for my fiance and 2 kids. So that's exactly what I'm going to do." Now, I didn't expect my sister to tell somebody, but within an hour of me getting off the phone with her, my mother calls me. And my mother says, "Oh my God, you got the money. I'm so happy for you." That was my mother's first reaction. And the next thing she said was, "This QVC debt that I have, you think you can go ahead and give me the money to pay it off, and I'll pay you back in installments. Or since I'm your mother, just consider it a gift. So that way it gets me out of debt and can raise my credit score." I was reluctant to give my mom the money and I talked it over with my fiance. My fiance thought that, it was up to me. He wasn't going to pressure me to do anything I didn't want to do. Or if I didn't want to do it, he wouldn't judge me for it. But I told him, no, I think we should use this money for the down payment on the house and the renovation costs. So that way we don't have to take out a loan for it. And he was like, "Okay, that's amazing. I thank you for considering that for our family." So I did it. My mother ended up falling ill and she called me and said, "If you just give me the money for the QVC bill, I wouldn't be in the hospital." Trying to guilt me already. But the doctor said that she had to move in with one of us because she could not be home alone. So, from the goodness of my heart, I took her in. And every single day that she has been in my house, she reminded me that I did not give her the $40,000 to pay off the QVC bill. My mother shortly passed away a month after that. And in her will, she took me out of it because she said I wouldn't need the money and gave it all to the rest of my 3 siblings. I never made amends with my mother, and the guilt of that does eat away at me. So now I'm conflicted. Should I have just given her the money to pay off the QVC bill, or did I do the right thing and put it towards my future for my family? I don't expect answers from this, but I thought I'd let you guys know of my story.
Before we get into commenting on the story, which was insane, let's go through the comments we missed. Keywan said, "I only know one coworker. I'm elderly and I don't have time, so boundaries extended to everybody." Not elderly. Shani does not feel obligated. She said, "2 million after the taxes, my house would be paid off. I will pay off my son's debt, but no, I'm not breaking everybody off. The only person that would know I won the money would be Tariq, who is her son. And my son don't tell nobody nothing, so he knows to keep his mouth shut. A Libra can't keep a secret, child." Keywan said, "I don't have an obligation to anyone, but I have family who I will give money to." I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
You'll help, but you know you're not obligated to do it. Yo, I'm putting white makeup on under the mask on my hands. You're not even going to know my ethnicity. I cannot. It depends on if they got me on the news. Do everyone know about it?
So ironically, some states does not keep that a secret anymore. So if you do win the lottery, they actually put it into a law that you're not protected anymore like you used to be. Like there used to be a time where you did not know. But if you win a grand prize, I think it's over $1 million. Yeah, they will put you on the news. So yeah, crazy. Yes, a close number of my immediate family should use my help. Okay. Shana, you're here. I don't feel obligated to help anyone, and my parents aren't in need of money. I break them off though. Okay. So a lot of us feel like, in terms, our parents may not need the money, but we probably will give them some of it. Yes. But this story, when I read that story, y'all, I was literally in tears because I feel like this happens a lot when people come into money or win some kind of money. This happens a lot where parents do guilt trip you into things like that. And this lady went through a lot of circumstance. So, Mrs. Best, before we break it up, what was your response hearing the story?
JB's comment says, seeing that my mom is deceased. Nope. Now my biological mother, her side of the family, I dress as anyone but me. The story was interesting, but it doesn't surprise me. I think a lot of people feel a natural obligation to take care of their loved ones, especially your family. But you're not gonna run your shit up $40,000 to QVC and then think that I would have told my mama, listen, lady, okay, I'm grown now, and you old, you can't whoop my ass. Your debt is your debt. That story, that part of it was a little bit crazy. But I think the parents that raise their kids, just pouring into their kids, hoping their kids become successful, those are usually the parents that end up being taken care of by their kids without even having to ask. Like,
Right.
at the end of the day, most kids, once they get past all the hormones and stuff, appreciate their parents and will want to do things for them. My dad's birthday's next week. Me and my sister planning and paying for a whole big trip for him just because we appreciate him. We love our dad. Like, people take care of their loved ones, spend money, do different things. It is what it is. But her mama, it sounded like her mom was probably always looking into what her kids could do for her, the way she was talking about that debt. Because the way my parents are, they wouldn't complain to me about their debt. That's strange to complain to your kid about your debt.
It is strange. And then also the fact that she was so conflicted with, wanting to provide a future, because she says she, wanted to use that money as a down payment and to cover some renovation for a new home for her fiance and her kids. But the mama was like, no, girl, my QVC bill is $40,000. You could just pay that off and then I'll just pay you back. So it makes me wonder, I know she said her mother is deceased now and they never did get resolved, which we'll say that in just a second. But the boundary in that would be prioritizing what matters to you more, because it's not your fault that your mother, or it's not your fault that your mother is in that QVC debt. Your mother needs to go to Gamblers Anonymous or something. But it's just,
when you enforce boundaries too, that's why you have to really be confident in your own choices and the boundaries that you are enforcing, because just because you place a boundary does not mean that everybody that you care about is going to accept or conform to the boundary that you have placed. And if they don't, you got to be prepared for maybe not dealing with them or distancing yourself in whatever way is necessary. But especially family, they be the ones that will actively express not wanting to respect the boundary.
yeah, because for me, because it's not like the mom is on hard times. This was a choice. Like, you chose to run up a QVC credit card or whatever it was to buy all those things. It wasn't like you had to do that. I could see if the mom was just struggling, the job don't pay because life is crazy now and things are expensive. Gas is $5 a gallon, and a gallon of milk is now $3.45 when it used to be $1.99. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, things are now more expensive. So if the mom was on hard times like that, then I would understand setting her up to where it would be easy for however long you can, because she only won 500,000, and then after taxes she only got 330 of it, and then she has a fiance and a couple and some kids herself, where she wants to put them in a home and like put her in another house. You know what I'm saying? So
Nobody's family should be expecting shit from anybody who only won $500,000, especially if you understand how the IRS works. Don't ask me for nothing if you my family, if I have not won more than 4 million. If I want more than 4 million, then okay, I can help, I can do stuff. But 500,000, which is only like 300K after tax, like especially in today's time, that does not go far.
it doesn't go far at all. Yeah,
At
that's like,
all.
yeah, it's like, and you know, it's funny. I never thought of it like that. And thank you, because now I now set the parameter. So if I win less than 4 million, yes, ain't nobody getting a cut. I'll shoot you
Yeah.
a little something, but not no. Because see, I feel like if I know my mama, she gonna ask, she gonna be like, "Oh, James, you could at least gave me, if I won like $1 million, James, you could at least gave me 300,000 of it. Come on now, like I know my mom, so yeah, that's exactly what would happen." And I would have to tell her, "No, you getting a good 50,000. I need to invest into my future. I need a home, you know."
Right.
Like,
Let
I
me
need a
live.
home.
You
Yeah,
live
let me
life.
live. Yeah, let me. I need a home. I need to this camera equipment, because now I can do YouTube full time and not care if I get monetized at the first beginning stages of it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just there's a lot of things I could be doing with the money without having to make sure. And that sucks, because I know a lot of people who have probably won the lottery probably did have family members that were like, "Oh my God, I have this bill that's eating me up. If you would just bless me with that kind of money, I can, get the monkey off my back." But it's, once again, you put the monkey on your back. I don't know what she brought from QVC. Like, I don't.
Woo by Stacey Roosh or something,
She
because
had to have been, because $40,000 is a lot of. It said $40,000
that's hella
is a
money.
lot of money on QVC.
On QVC, I'm imagining all the ugly ass brooches and Christmas sweaters she must have. Lord, even if they accept the boundary, a lot of times that comes with a price and changes the relationship. That's why it's important to not just be out here placing all these unusual or unnecessary boundaries, and to really place the ones that absolutely matter to your mental health, to your overall well-being, because it does change the dynamic. Even if people respect them, some people, it does change
Yeah.
up how they move.
Relating it to this story, though, this is a mother and daughter situation. That shouldn't have changed that relationship at all. The fact that it did, and the fact that she even had to take her mother in when her mother got sick and had to care for her. So that's your payment right there. That's your payment right there. And yes, she didn't give you the $40,000 to pay off the QVC bill, but that's your payment. Your daughter took care of you because you had other kids. We at least know about a sister, because she told the sister she won the lottery, and the sister told the mama. So it was kind of like, yeah, so she had another place to go. So to me, that's repayment. Like, I know a lot of people don't look at that as like that's repayment, but no, that definitely is repayment. I'm taking you in, I'm feeding you, you're living in my house, I'm caring for you because you cannot be alone. No, that's payment. I'm sorry, it may not be compensation cash on the barrel hand, but it is payment. That's how I see it. I could be wrong, but
You could take your ass to the nursing home and hope the CNA changes you twice before her lunch. It's whatever you want, mom. That's it.
Yeah. And then the mom passed away, and then they never were able to. So that's guilt that's going to eat away at her. If I could give that lady any advice, ma'am, pray to God forgive you, forgive yourself, and then move on. I know that's hard to say, y'all, but at the same time, once again, that QVC, unless she brought you some shit that you asked for, that ain't your problem. Parents dead is not our problem. We didn't ask to be here. So, yes, So yes, let me see. What else are we would definitely say a prayer for you, David D.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. We're sorry that you're going through that. We are wishing the best for you. We are hoping that you make it through into remission. But yes, we will definitely be praying for you. Absolutely. Keywan said the mom thought she was entitled to her money, and it seemed like her mom love was conditional. Absolutely, it was, or at least it makes me wonder in the boundary of parents if love is conditional based on what you have. Because I remember I told you guys that my mom has not read any of my books at all. She has not read any of my books. My dad has before he passed. My dad actually was telling nurses, doctors, whoever would listen about my books. Now, my mom has like she reposted it on social media and like say, "Hey, buy my son's book," and this and that. She has done that, but she couldn't tell you what the book was about. She couldn't tell you anything. So when it comes to conditional love, I do think that some parents do have it in certain aspects of life. I think they will always love you and your being, but when it comes to leaning into the material and the dreams and the career paths, I do think that there is some condition with that. I do. And I think in this example, the condition was, okay, you now can give me a way out because you now won the money by, blessing your circumstance, and you now can do it for me. And I think that that's where the condition is. So I think that some parents do, out of nature, do have some conditions when it comes to love. Do they sell? I don't know. I don't. What does QVC
They
sell?
do. They sell like jewelry, diamonds, like fancy china for your china cabinet for the OGs, like sweaters. Like it's pretty much. It feel like Macy's on TV, honestly. Um, it's sad that people would go to their grave like that. So selfish to leave your daughter. That is the perspective I think a lot of people forget to look at when discussing issues of financial boundaries with family specifically, because they're like, damn, she's gone and she left with this still on her heart. But the mother should not have been so selfish to want to put all of her debt onto her kids. She just should not. Absolutely. Thank y'all for
Yes.
supporting, David. That's
Thank
very kind.
you.
I love to see that
Yes.
in the chat. Absolutely. David says, "You are so kind, bro. God bless you, your family. We all love you." Right, chat? I love it. Look at the
Love you, David. Thank
positivity.
you. Yes, I love it.
Does your mom at least watch your YouTube channel from time to time? That's a question
No,
for James.
no, she does
Really?
not. No,
Huh.
no, she does not. She knows I
Yeah,
have one.
but she doesn't watch any of it?
No,
I
no.
learned from my sister. My mama watch you, so somebody's mama's watching you.
Yeah, no, my mom does not watch my YouTube channels. My mom does not think I should be in entertainment. My mom thinks that I should be in like the corporate world. I should have been a doctor, lawyer kind of situation. My mom doesn't see entertainment for me as she sees it for my brother and my sister. Like my mom wants my sister to be a singer. My mom thought my brother should have been a singer. When it came to me, no, entertainment was never supposed to be my thing. So my
Mm.
mom doesn't, and my mom's the kind of person, she does not lean into things. Now, if I become a millionaire from my books, then my mom will see the vision because now
Ah,
I have proven to her that I could be successful in it. If I get 1 million subscribers, my mom will then see this is the vision for me because now I have something to back it up with. I have to back up my accomplishments for my mother in order for her to lean into it.
mm. That makes
Yeah.
sense. It's kind of similar to like, uh, parents in other cultures. Sometimes they don't want to see it until they see that it's successful, and they want you to go a different direction. Not Stacy was good at her job, right? She was
She must have been because it's like 40,000.
40,000.
I don't know when this story was, Shayna, so I don't know if this was current. It could have been from years ago.
QVC is still around. I have cable. I see the channel sometimes on accident when the cat sits on the remote. They also have a website. They are actually super popular for buy here, pay here, people are after paying QVC products. Who would have thought?
Right.
More
Hmm.
love being sent to David. We
Yes,
love to see
David.
it.
Yeah.
Let's keep
Yes.
the chat positive. We love it. Thank y'all. It makes me feel so good to hear that.
Oh, we appreciate
That's
it.
good.
You
Let
are
me
you
get
are loved, David. Yes, you are very loved on this channel.
see. James, where do you fall with your siblings? Are you the oldest, the youngest, or the middle?
I am the oldest. I am the oldest child.
The tortured.
Yes. The torture, the one
The
you
one they
fall
always
on, the one
call.
the one they call the starter kit child, the one you think is always going to be okay, no
The one
matter. Yeah.
everybody think that they could be comfortable crashing out on.
Yes. The one, the counselor, the one that has to pick up where they leave off, the one who has to make sure the younger siblings are all taken care of. Yes, I am that sibling. Yes. But
Comics Express.
yes. But yes, we're going to, but that was, my best wishes is to this lady once again. I'm glad she lets me know what 500,000 is after taxes. But yeah, unless I win some substantial amount of money, sorry family, unless you really down and out and ain't got no groceries, I will take you grocery shopping. But I'm not just going to give $40,000 of my earnings on a $30,000 situation. It's not happening. So the next set of boundaries we're going to communicate is sexual boundaries. um so this is one that I'm actually going to take an education on, because to me, I am not as sexually as experienced as I would like to be. I literally, I don't even want to say the title of the book because I don't want the one to steal it because it's that damn good. But so how to communicate sexual boundaries. So in a right state of mind, I, want to make sure you ask me. That's kind of like in my right state of mind, but I know that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it's a feeling. Sometimes you may want it. You're hoping the other person agrees to it. You're hoping they see the same thing. You're hoping they feel the same way. So my question, because Mrs. Best is married, I'm not trying to get in her sex life, y'all. But is this something that you have to communicate to your partner? Like, do they need to know certain things or developments? Because I'm curious.
I think so. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm cooking. I think so. For me, is extremely important. For those who do not know, I am a survivor of sexual assault, and my assault had happened right like a month or two before I met my husband, who I'm with now. So I was very vocal on boundaries, and he was aware of it. So he didn't want to make a move or any of that without discussing like boundaries and stuff like that. So especially for anyone that's dealt with like assault of any form, there's definitely worth having the discussion about boundaries. But I think even outside of that, it's worth it to discuss your sexual boundaries. Because, like, for example, you say you feel like you are not experienced in the bedroom and could learn more. Explaining that to a partner, they can understand that they can't just go into it like you just been out here dropping it low and spreading it wide. You know, they can take their time, check on you, things like that, but they won't know that if you don't have that conversation to establish those boundaries. So I feel like sexual boundaries is something everybody should talk about, but a lot of people don't, probably because it's uncomfortable for so many people, but it's definitely worthwhile.
Absolutely. And thank you for sharing once again that story. I know I've heard it already, but it's every time you say it, it's something that I hold close to my heart because you're such a beautiful person. You're one of my best friends. And I always keep that in my mind that that has happened. But sometimes it's like when you hear the story again of you being so transparent about it, it does tug at your heart. So thank you.
Oh, y'all therapy, the shit works. Go.
Yeah. So, one of the other sexual boundaries that a lot of people should be doing in today's time, especially with STDs on the rise, is that a sexual boundary people should have is you should demand your partner be STD tested and STI tested. Now, I know you can't tell somebody what to do with their body and what to go do it, but the thing about it is, if the person cares about you enough, they will get sexually STD tested and STI tested immediately if they care about you, because it's always great to know where you stand. And don't ever let no one say, oh, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Never trust that. Just never trust that. Always make sure that the person understands why this is important, because we live in a time where people are just willy-nilly and just ready to just jump into bed. So STD testing and STI testing is definitely a sexual boundary we all should be having. Especially if you're out there dating. So, Mrs. Best, do you agree with that about a sexual boundary?
Absolutely. I am married. My husband is married. We both get tested constantly. Because why wouldn't you? Even if you're in a monogamous relationship, you should still, in my opinion, get tested. When I first got with him and we were only 16 and 18, we took our asses to Planned Parenthood, broke as hell, and got tested. So I feel like that's the best message you could get. Always get tested.
Yes, absolutely. Always get tested. Let us know in the chat, if you agree with this sexual boundaries, because you definitely should be doing that. Now, boundaries with family. And I put my favorite character up here. So for those of you guys who do not know who this is Vanessa Williams. This is her playing the character Terry from Soul Food, which me and Mrs. Best are going to watch on YouTube on a pre-record at some point this year, because we have a lot of commentary. There was a lot wrong with that film. But to give you guys a summary of it, in this role, Vanessa Williams playing Terry was a very successful attorney. She actually was partner at her firm and made a lot of money. Now, a lot of the financial woes of the family were always put on the back of her. She had to help her mother. She had to help her sister. She had to help her cousin. And what she got in return of it was her cousin sleeping with her husband, her sister stealing her boyfriend, her mama not giving her the credibility or the satisfaction of feeling that she's worthy because she doesn't have some man attached to her, and when she does, she has to be reminded that that's husband number 2. And also, she doesn't have the respect politics from the sister who stole her husband, because they feel like they need to always argue. So I am thankful that me and my siblings get along very well, but I do feel like Terry in my family. I feel like sometimes for me, my boundaries get altered when my family needs something. When I was injured, for example, when I was injured and I could barely walk, I still was taking my grandmother to her doctor's appointments. My then fiance, I was still taking him to work. I was picking up his sister from school, which I don't mind. All of these things that I'm saying, I don't mind doing those things, because to me, if I have the time and if I have the energy and if I have the wherewithal, I will be there for you. But there is a time where you're going to explode if you don't say no constantly. So what I had to learn when it came to my family, my friends, whoever I'm dealing with at the time, I had to let them know, hey, I cannot do this. Hey, no, I don't have this. Hey, no, you cannot borrow this. Hey, no, this is not going to happen. I had to learn to do that. And some of the responses that I'm getting from family and some friends is, damn, you mean, damn, you ain't got to say it like that. And it's like, well, how should I say it? How should I be? So a lot of the times it lets me frustrated, but I definitely understood the Terrys of the world, who a lot of everything falls on you and you have to figure out the solution. And I know Mrs. Best also can relate to this as well, because she's the oldest sibling. That's something she and I share in common. Mrs. Best, have you found your willpower to say no to family when they always need something from you?
I have. I actually took a break from my family. Like last year, I was not talking to any of them. My dad has this bad habit of saying that I am the glue. And as the oldest, it's my job to keep everybody together, take care of everything, be there for other people, show up, all this stuff. And then my mom, their side is African. So they have the thought that the oldest child is essentially a bonus parent. Like when you step back or say no and people start to act funny, it becomes problematic. And when they start to guilt you, that's what's common in my family. They'll like guilt you for stuff. That's when I kind of walk away. And then anytime there's an issue, they don't really want to talk about it too deep. So I understand, Terry. We don't have nobody sleeping with husbands and stealing men, and I don't have no cousin Face in my family, thank God. But
Look, I had to look.
every time
Look,
I
I
look
got.
at Terry, fuck the family. I need to watch that movie again. I'm mad for her all over again just looking at it.
Right. I was say we're gonna watch it on YouTube. We're gonna watch it. We're gonna cut it up and edit it. We're gonna do a pre-record of it because yes, I can get mad every time I watch this. And justice for Terry. Justice for her because I know what that feels like. I know when you ain't got no ain't shit ass man. I know when you ain't got, everybody, going crazy. Cousin Faith over here challenging your nerves. Then you got your sister over here who a housewife and is jealous. And then you got your youngest sister who lost in direction. And then you got your mama over there, talking about you need to, be strong and, don't matter what no man do. We don't hold them accountable. We work our hands and knees and shit. I know what all that feels like. And I'm like, no, 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 no. So yeah, we definitely are going to be watching Soul Food, and we're going to be giving our commentary during the movie. We may pause it every now and then just so we can get a few cuss words out that we need to get out. But yeah, this is definitely going to be one of those times where, yeah. So don't be afraid to say, I know it's not biblical and not morally correct, but sometimes family try it. Family do be trying it sometimes. Like, I'm not going to lie to y'all. Family do be trying it. And you got to give it a good, hey, fuck the family sometime. It's all right. They're going to be all right. People going to be all right. But you got to say, fuck the family sometime. You do. I felt Terry when she said, fuck the family. Hell, cousin Faith out there sleeping with my husband. But
Sleeping
yeah,
with
I
the
had
husband in her house. Y'all
in
could have
her
went down
house.
the street, but you want to do that shit in my house? Oh.
Oh, don't even get me started, Keywan. Oh my God, that reverend. When I tell you that reverend would have got cussed out to the fullest, beautiful legs and breasts, underneath the table, I was, oh no, fuck that prayer. You're not finna sit up here and condemn me to hell for your little nasty, perverted ass ways. Pray correctly, sir. Yes. Oh man, this was the movie right here. But this is another one that goes without warning of family overstepping boundaries and you not having clear boundaries with family and you not being able to tell them, no, I'm not going to pay for another this. I'm not going to pay for another that. If your bills get fucked, sometimes I think boundaries are here to let people go through the life that you've already gone through. If you keep rescuing people, they're never going to learn the lesson. And I think that was the message that I wanted to give that young lady for the Powerball. Your mother was never going to understand the message had you not said no. Had you gave her the $40,000, she was going to run that credit card bill up to 80 next time. That's just how I look at that. I look at the things that if you continue to rescue from people, they'll never learn the lesson. They'll never learn to not do something until it becomes, too late or something. So you got to let people learn their lessons in life. You do. That's a part of boundaries that they don't talk about, is that boundaries really are for you to let the other person have the consequence of the life choices they make. Because oftentimes when you don't have boundaries, you become the rescue person. And life is not about rescuing people. We're not, superheroes were created, but they were created to be fictional. They were not created to be life expectancies. So let people learn from their mistakes so that way they don't do it again. Because how many times are you going to win the lottery? Like, I've read a man won it 3 times, within 2 years. I read that story. I think that is absolutely amazing that he was able to do that. And that was the blessing that God had for him. But at the same time, that does not happen to everybody. So I say this to say, while we're still on this earth, if you have a family member that is always calling you and always needing your help, always needing you, that say no and let them learn the lesson. They gonna be all right. They gonna survive unless it's some crazy shit that they dealing with. They owe Bobo some money. He gonna blow his head off. You shouldn't have borrowed the money from Bobo in the first place because I can't help you. You should have worked for it. That's all I'm gonna say. So yeah, but we gonna move on from Terry though. But that was a good one. I always, she always was my example of not having clear boundaries. Terry's always my number one example. So now we have marital boundaries, and I believe this is oh no, we have one more. So we have marital boundaries. So I am not married currently, so I would say Mrs. Best, what are some good marital boundaries that you would give to a couple? Like, what are some good from a woman's perspective?
Tell the truth. Don't get mad about things that you wouldn't want to be griped at. Healthy
Mm,
separation is necessary. It does not mean that somebody is distant. Um, and don't just go on not bumping and grinding for months and weeks at a time. Like, be
mhm.
intentional. But also, what Keywan is saying is probably one of the biggest marital boundaries that I think most successful marriages demonstrate. Y'all know about my relationship and my spouse, and I've acknowledged little things, but don't nobody really know what, like, my business and my relationship and what's going on. And I feel like that's why it does well. You can see a
Mm,
picture, you can see us having fun at events and traveling. You know, I'll talk about, yeah, we've been through it, but I'm not going to get into like like the immediate details and things like that. I think privacy is key. Keywan, I'm trying to tell you, Keywan be knowing. See, she's proof. You don't
yeah.
need to be married to know. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's really just it. Doing whatever you can to protect your trust.
So
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. So I was watching um oh, I can't think. I think it was Dr. Heavenly and her saying she didn't have a relationship with her mother-in-law and that she doesn't feel the need to have a relationship with her. Do you think that that is a boundary, or do you think that that's just kind of like she just being, mean and vindictive? Like, because to me, I often wonder when you don't have a relationship, is it because something happened where you had to put up a boundary for that person? And oftentimes, because I know in-laws, when it comes to being in a business, people tell their parents what's going on, like in their relationships a lot of the time.
Mhm.
And then it causes the parent to feel a way about you because that's their child. Do you think that a boundary is necessary for an in-law?
I do think that boundaries are necessary for in-laws. My
Mm,
mother-in-law, I've had to place boundaries with her. She's had to place boundaries with me, but it's not like stopped like anything.
mhm,
My husband also isn't the type to like go and pillow talk to his mama about the woes of his relationship. So I feel
mm,
like that probably helps a great deal.
mhm,
Um, but I don't know. I'm a person that feels like, how can you be with a man and not have a relationship with at least one of the in-laws? Like, I don't have the closest relationship with my husband's dad, but honestly, lately these days, his daddy will call me before he called my husband, which confuses the hell out of us. But like, they know how to reach me. They feel comfortable reaching out, vice versa. I think you don't need to have the closest relationship with in-laws, but you should have some type of relationship. Because what if something happens? What if you have a baby? What if you need a babysitter someday? Like, several different things come into account. It's like, if you love your partner, why would you not like have a relationship with their parents? But for some people that have like difficult in-laws and stuff, like, placing a boundary may be necessary, like only going around them on like Christmas or for the holidays or family events. But to like just entirely ignore the relationship, you'd have to be like Mama D or something.
That's what I was going to say. Like, if I had a relationship, like I had a partner or husband whose mama, like, because there are some intrusive mothers. There are some intrusive mothers. Mama D being one of them. Nancy Jones and
Mhm.
Leslie from
Judy.
and Judy, and if like those, you definitely need boundaries with those kind of mamas. You do. You need boundaries with those kind of mamas because they, are way too involved in the marriage. And I don't think that that's right. And I don't think that that's necessary. I think that you've already had your time where you raise your child. Now you need to let it go. And
Mm.
I always respect the parents who don't get involved, regardless. Like, what was that movie called? I think it was Ease by You or something like that, where she
Mhm.
was complaining to the in-laws, but they didn't really get involved. They just listened. They was giving, Lewis the side eye, like, what the fuck is you doing? Why is you cheating on this lady? Like, what the hell?
When
So
my husband was acting like an absolute fool, I vented to my mother-in-law about all of it, but she never got involved in our relationship. She was
Mhm.
really like truly a listening and sounding
Yeah.
ear, kind of like what my mama would have been. Except because it's her son, I don't have to worry about her hating him at the end. At the end of
Right.
it.
And I think that's a good point because that does, when you vent to your parent about your person, that does make them look at the other person. That's something that I have never did with my mother because I know the moment I do that, whoever I'm with, because it could be a very temporary situation where I'm
Mm,
angry temporarily, my mom will be mad permanently if I tell her.
mm.
No matter how small it is, my mom will be angry like permanently. Like that person will never be able to get back in her good gracious.
A lot of
And
people go through that with their
mhm,
spouses, though, not just with moms and parents, but like even with friendships. Like
yes,
some friends are super, super forward in their disdain of people's spouses, and sometimes forward in ways that make it difficult, probably, for a person to be with a partner.
absolutely. Absolutely. That makes so much sense. And I think that, I think the boundaries is that, yes, keep your married life private because it's only you two in the relationship. And it should
Mhm.
only be you two in the relationship. And the communication should start with the other person first. And if you two need to seek somebody, you seek out a marriage counselor who does not have any biases to either one of you. That's how
Mhm.
you fix that. So that's the boundaries in marriage. Now, the last one is the single life. Now, because we are constantly looking and dating and trying to get things right and hopefully to end up in the relationship, the boundaries that you should be in place is you should never compromise your dignity, your pride, or anything that you want in a relationship just because you desire a person. You should always keep that in line because I'm telling you, anybody who wants you to be with you will respect those boundaries, no matter what they are. And they will continue to work on being the best person so that way they continue to fit in that mold. But never compromise your boundaries with people when you're single because that is the recipe for disaster. Because the moment you slip, that person's going to come back and say, when you didn't put that boundary back, hey, you didn't do that in the beginning. So why are you doing it now? I've had plenty of those situations, especially dating men. Now, with women, that wasn't really the thing when I was dating women or when I was in relationships with women. My boundaries really didn't have to alter too much. They didn't. But with the men, yeah, they did get altered because I didn't know and I'm still learning and stuff like that. So a lot of relationships that I've had with men, I've only had three real relationships. I'm gonna say three real ones because the other two were just kind of like an in-between situations. But the three real relationships that I've had with men, sometimes my boundaries did go out of whack. I'm not gonna lie. They did. I was, telling Mrs. Bestis, like, there was a lot of things that I've learned in my last relationships and the boundaries that I did not set with these men because I was afraid of losing them. And I think that that's where a lot of us single people, when we don't enforce our boundaries, is because we're afraid of losing that other person. And you should never be afraid of that. That's one thing
Enforcing
that
and
I've learned.
boundaries single is like, in my opinion, extra, extra, extra important because it really
Yes.
does establish what it will be like when you go through that process of falling in love. And it also protects you because let's keep it a buck. Something people don't like to hear or accept is that until you have found your husband or your wife or whoever you choose to marry, your forever person, doesn't matter, girl, boy, where you come from, until you find that person, you really can't like trust people fully with like all of yourself. You have to protect yourself to a certain extent. So those boundaries help you to protect yourself. And if a person
Absolutely.
cares about you, that's a good way to filter and find out if you're marrying the right person because they'll have no issues with those boundaries. They'll respect them, probably won't cross them often, and will help you to enforce them.
Agreed.
But people be in a rush for love. And then there's pee in the dating pool, so it's just a lot.
So a lot going on, and and for all of you parents out there that are raising kids, start to implement understanding what a boundary is. I think this is something that we should teach kids, probably in the teenage years, beginning into teenage years, to understand that they need boundaries, they need willpower, they need to start developing those, at a younger age. So that way, when they become adults, it becomes easier to maneuver, because nowadays, parents try to shield their kids from things versus realistically explaining things, because they don't want to have to explain things. And it was funny because I just had this conversation with another one of my friends here. She has a 12-year-old, he's going through the puberty stages. And she had asked me, she goes, when did your mother talk to you about sex? I say, well, hell, when it was too late and I already didn't have it. And I was like, it's not a conversation for a mother to have with her son. I just, you don't have the same body parts. Now, what you can explain to him is the protection part of it. Now, that's something you can do, and understanding that, for if he decides to be with a woman, understanding that, protect yourself. You don't want to get a girl pregnant. Those should be the only things you should be saying to him. The other stuff is for the dad. And of course, the young man's father is not in his life. So, it's unfortunate. But yes, if they're ready to, if they start asking questions about sex, obviously they're the understanding that it exists. So that's why you should be talking to them there. And they should have boundaries with that as well. Understanding, ladies, especially if you're raising young women, you are not equipped to be nobody's mother at 14. If you don't require a man to protect himself, you are the only one in the equation that can end up pregnant. So definitely have conversations when they are ready. That should not be a boundary that you should overstep or that you should alter. That's something that should be set in stone. We need to start, teen pregnancy is not cute. Mrs. Best could tell you, I have taken several people to clinics because of this. So please start having these conversations about boundaries early as the kid can understand it. Mrs. Best, do you agree with that, or am I reaching?
I agree with some of it. Just based on my professional opinion, a lot of, unfortunately, single parent households are more prevalent with women and men with kids. There is an appropriate way to have a talk about sex with your son, even if there's just a mother there. A lot of people feel like, yes, that's for men to do. Old traditions, yes, but women can also have those conversations with kids, and it's important that they just have it. But outside of that, yeah, I do agree.
All right. Well, that was the end of the boundary talk, you guys. We appreciate you so much for that. Let us know about, how you feel about boundaries. Are you setting them? Are you realistically learning about yourself? Are you making sure that you don't alter them? Because those are the worst things you can do, is altering a boundary that should always be there. And no one has to be perfect, because life isn't perfect. But every day we should be better about setting boundaries, and a lot of the equations of emotional, physical, verbal, time, work, spiritual, financial, sexual. We should always be working on that. But this was a great conversation to have. I think I've learned a lot. I'm thankful Mrs. Best is here with me to help moderate this. Mrs. Best, is there anything you want to add to that before we go?
No, enforce your boundaries, but like James said, people are not perfect. So also understand the level of enforcement. Okay, don't just be cutting people off the first time they cross a boundary. Okay, people are not perfect.
No, it's very well said. Yeah, people are not perfect. They do the best they can. So, be easy on them, but just, you should have some borderline of understanding with someone, and realistically, you shouldn't have to explain why you have that boundary. It just should be said, I have it. Point blank, the period. Now, if we get further along in the relationship, then yeah, you can understand it, and you'll probably see why I have it. Because sometimes things get exposed, and you understand why someone has a boundary that they have. Like sometimes it's self-explanatory. So yes. But thank you, Mrs. Best. This has been a fun, educational. I love when we have educational segments. We will keep you guys posted on the community wall what our next topic will be. And we will definitely try to keep these entertainment. But we had a lot of engagement with you guys, and we definitely appreciate it. We definitely try to keep this going at least once a week. We're going to try to do better with coming up with more concepts, even more. And we want to thank you once again. And you guys have a great rest of your evening. Thank you, Mrs. Best. Have a great one, y'all. Oh yeah, just like 1, 2, 3. Everything I say, I learn. Oh yeah, invest for sure.
That's my word.